Delta celebrating 100 years in business, and suffice to say, a lot has gone on in the 100 years within the aviation industry, within the consumer, within the world. I'm really excited to bring in our next guest here at Yahoo Finance Invest, Delta's longtime CEO, Ed Bastian. Ed, good to see you here. 100 years, mind-blowing thing in corporate America, mind-blowing milestone. What does that mean to you?
A lot of pride in our people for getting there. First U.S. airline to reach 100. It's quite a statement when you think about all the challenges our industry faces, the hundreds of airlines that have come and gone to have Delta reach not just the mark first, but the first to the second century of flight and the head start that gives us on our future. But it's about people. It's about service. There's something about Delta that's in our heart. It's in our DNA. It's the consistency of excellence that we look to provide. We have great planes. We have great technologies. We have great lounges. We have great places we go. But it's the people that really make it special. I
want to dive into all that in large part because I am a loyal Delta flyer. I am, and I'm just fascinated by the travel experience. But you mentioned challenges, and the aviation industry has been undergoing some challenges with the government shutdown. At a high level, what disruption has this caused for a business like yours?
It's been very disruptive. For the last week, when you go in with no notice and you just arbitrarily reduce the amount of flying in the system for all of us, incredibly disruptive for our customers. We had no advance warning to be able to get people to different places, so there were delays. When you couple that with the amount of the accelerated pace of staffing shortages in the towers, which I think was somewhat tied to what we were seeing with the forced reductions. Controllers are, and by the way, hats off to them, particularly those that have been working without pay for almost a month and a half. Really big thanks and security agents that are doing that. But the reality is that there was stress, there was strain. It was completely unnecessary into the system. It's our industry that forces, I guess, even government to get back together and to open up. So be it. But it's causing a pretty significant disruptive end. The good news is that I anticipate we'll be fully up flying very, very soon, in the next day or so, and hopefully when the next time comes, we'll find a better solution.
Hopefully there is no next time with this.
But there always is. Yeah. But hopefully it's not our industry and our people and our customers that have to bear the brunt of the dysfunction, because the people that we put in power to run the country can't agree.
What this has exposed, this record-setting shutdown, Ed, is, like you mentioned, the shortage of critical people that allow planes to safely go in the air, the aging infrastructure. From your vantage point, how severe are these issues?
We're safe. We're absolutely safe. The safest form of transportation, period. And that's what we do all day long. We talk a lot about our brand, as I said, the airports and the fancy places we go. Internally, we talk safety all the time. And if you're not seen as safe, if you don't have that core trust element with your consumer, you can't do the things that we do. So incredibly safe. We've been accelerating over the last decade the retirement and the replacement of our fleet. Our fleet actually has gotten younger in the last 10 years. COVID partly helped, but we retired a lot of old planes during COVID, the 777s, the MD-80s, excuse me, the MD-90s, and several other older models. And we haven't had an issue, because we've been with Airbus for the last 5-7 years, getting all the deliveries that we expected. They've been operating right through this period.
What has to happen to get more air traffic controllers into these spots to backfill positions that maybe aren't being backfilled?
Well, one of the most important things is to modernize the skies. The air traffic control systems were developed decades ago, 50, 60, 70 years ago, still using some of the same technologies, the same infrastructure, very manual. And when you have an environment that's so stressful, that operates with such manual intensity, it's safe. But it's safe because things get slowed and they maintain a big margin for error to keep us all safe, which we appreciate. But the reality on that is today it takes longer to fly from Atlanta to New York than it did in the 1950s when we launched that route.
It's hard to even grasp.
It's hard to grasp, but that's because the system is so taxed and so it's so slow. So you do circles, you wait in lines, and you don't have the modern technologies that we use in many other transportation industries. By the way, many other air traffic systems around the world have much better technology than we do in our states. Kudos to the administration. They got $12 billion investment to get started this year. Again, it was another thing that probably was delayed, during this shutdown period, and we got to get it going again. But we all need to make that investment, and that's just a down payment. I think the real cost is going to be significantly better. I don't know of a better return that you can have, because just think about how much time it's going to save, being able to use the technology, how much safer it'll be. You know, the elapsed savings that you're going to see in terms of sustainability and fuel, and giving people their time back, and then allowing us to grow at a much higher pace than we've been able to grow.
You know, from the outside looking in, people might think after a shutdown, everything gets back to normal, we're all good, dude, we're going to travel and get to where we get to. Is that the case? I mean, can you just literally flip the switch and things go back to normal?
There's no flipping the switch. You know, we got crews that we got to get back ready for, because we've been taking flights out for a couple of days, you know, in advance in time, and now we got to see if we can get those crews back on schedule. You know, it'll take several days, but I'm hopeful that by the weekend things will be running very well. You know, the last couple of days have been running pretty good in anticipation of an agreement, and I hope that's a good baseline to look at.
Ed, you're seen as one of the one of the best CEOs in the game for a long time. How have your past few weeks looked different? You know, when you see a government shutdown, how do you manage your teams differently? How do you manage your people differently?
Well, it's frustrating. It really is. You know, we've had, our business has been doing great. We had earlier issues.
You just had record revenues.
Record revenues this year, but we had earlier issues at the start of the year with all the geopolitical announcements, the tariff debates, the announcements, the uncertainty that existed in the economy really froze the economy. And our business runs on economic growth. And when you have the economy basically stall, which we saw happen in the February, March, April timeframe, brought our bookings down pretty considerably. We got it back up June, July. Things started to take off again. We're looking for, and we will have a great holiday season. Things were looking great. Then all of a sudden you have a shutdown that occurs, something that comes completely out of your control, but out of nowhere. We can't do business like that. We need more, you know, from our government leaders. So we have made our points known with all our people, you know, our elected officials. Do your job. Do your job. And I understand there's disagreements, but it should not come at the cost of asking people to work particularly in high stress, incredibly sensitive areas without pay for weeks on end. That's inexcusable.
Is the consumer okay?
Consumer is strong, but again, it depends what consumer you're talking about. Our consumer in the experience economy, the higher end experience economy, is doing incredibly well. And we've seen this for the last several years. The higher the experience set goes, the more premium it is. The demand, it seems to be insatiable. You know, it just continues to grow. Whether that's international experiences, whether that's a hot concert tour, or last night I was at a great restaurant in the city. It was packed, hard to get a table. That's where people continue to want to invest, because they see great value, they see great opportunity. If you're providing a commodity, if you can choose, you know, kind of change, I can do this, I can do that. If price is your determinant, that consumer isn't doing too well.
You have really pushed hard into more premium seats. You are, in effect, reinventing the flying experience. Looking out, and I saw this, I think maybe it was in another podcast you did with David Novak, former CEO of Yum Brands, talking about how the flying experience is changing because you're investing so much, and you can think about investing over the next 5 to 10 years. Like, when I sit in a Delta seat, how will it look different 10 years from now?
Well, I think first of all, it'll become a much more immersive entertainment experience. This is a journey I've been on for a long time. You know, we have 200 million customers a year, on average 3 hours a session. They're all seat belted in, all facing the same way. If you can't figure out a way as a marketer to create value for those consumers as well as for yourself, you're not very good. And that's what we're doing. That's why we launched free Wi-Fi at scale around the world.
Thank you for that. And it all works. It works great.
And it works. And you know, we invested over $1 billion in making that happen. People wanted to charge. They said, no, we're not charging for it. Consumers deserve that. And by the way, all those other airlines are now copying and following us for that. But that's the platform. And then you bring in an Uber, an exclusive relationship with Uber. You bring YouTube TV, you know, into the plane, which eventually we have YouTube now, we'll have the TV opportunities expanding. We have a digital platform to give people opportunities to see content and have marketers have a chance to kind of get exposure to their consumers and take great advantage of the time you're spending with us.
You're even redesigning the seats.
We are. We're redesigning the seats. We're bringing all the new, particularly international planes we're bringing, full 50% of that plane is going to be in a premium category, compared to in the past where the premium cabin, the first class was really a loss leader. Now it drives the bulk of the revenue on board the plane. And so that experience set continues to grow. The lounges that we have, the JFK-1 lounge for
nice.
The international traveler, nice. Which we have in Boston, we have Delta One in LA, we have it in Seattle. It's the airports themselves, people still land in LaGuardia and think they get off, they think they're in the wrong city. And then I say, no, this is LaGuardia. We all grew up and realized the challenges of LaGuardia. I landed there the other night and I got off and say, wow, this is pretty impressive. That's the future. And those things, by the way, can't change. There's a lot in this industry that moves around. But when you have the real estate and you have the footprint and people see where you're going, that's when they want to join you on the party.
What happens to the average Joe that just wants an economy ticket, given the premium seat push? Like, what happens to them?
We have that product for them too. We call it Basic Economy. If all you want from your carrier is the lowest price, we are price competitive with anybody out there. Now you will not get a premium service offering. You'll probably won't even get a seat assignment until you get to the airport. You may be one of the last people to board online. You may not have room for your bags. But if all you care about is the lowest price, and you still get high quality, reliable service, it's not like we discount or dismiss anyone, because those people are our future premium travelers. Every million miler starts as a 1 miler, right? And everybody starts their journey, and those people I'm particularly sensitive to realize that this is an aspirational brand. This is a brand you want to be part of, even young in your journey, because you can see where it can take you.
Will AI impact how you price tickets?
It won't impact how we price tickets on an individual basis. What it will influence is the process of pricing. Today we have tens of millions of price points out there at any one point, because we sell 300 days out. We have 5,000 flights a day. We have all kinds of inventory categories on each flight. And so the complexity of doing that, which is still largely manual in many respects, it's not manual, it's run by computers, but very manual in terms of the oversight of that. We can do it a lot more efficiently. We can be a lot more agile and flexible. We can see where we're in market, where we're not in market at the right level. We can make sure we're making you the right offer based on the time, but it's not going to be based on your individual circumstances. There's a lot of concern whether we're doing personalized pricing. We don't have the capability with hundreds of millions of customers a year to do personalized pricing. But what we do is we can make the process go smoother and much more seamlessly for consumers.
If you'll indulge me, I have one or two leadership questions. It's not so often you get to hang out with a leader who's been, 10-year anniversary coming up next year as CEO.
Yeah, February actually.
That's wild. What's a piece of advice you would give to young leaders about building resilience in volatile industries?
People think that, wow, you've had so many experiences with crisis management, whether it was 9/11, whether it's the pandemic, global economic crises. You've developed your resilience through those experiences, and those experiences build some fiber inside you. But the thing I tell young leaders is make sure you know what you stand for, make sure you know what your mission is, your purpose, what you stand for as compared to what you stand against, because you're going to need to pull on all of those fibers when you get through crisis. I had a wonderful board chair when we started the pandemic, Frank Blake, who told me—
Former Home Depot CEO.
Former Home Depot CEO, and he was our CEO, our chairman for many years, my boss. And he told me, he said, you guys are going to get through this pandemic. He told me at the very start, we don't know what's going to happen, but I know you guys are going to get through it in a good way, because we understand your values. We understand what Delta stands for and staying true to those values. And if you know what those values are, those values will be revealed during crisis. If you don't have character, it's really hard to build when that storm hits. And if you don't have the values sorted out, then that's when you start swimming around and going from guardrail to guardrail. But if you know what you stand for and your ability to lead through times of uncertainty, that's really important. So prepare for crisis in times of prosperity. Build those resilience genes, because it's going to come.
Last one, Ed. What do you hope Delta's legacy will be 20 years from now?
I hope it will always be seen as a great brand for service, for our people, for our community, for our customers, for our shareholders, that people really love this brand. And secondly, I hope it's seen as a force for good around the world. And when I talk about the second century of flight, and only 1 in 5 people in the world ever stepping foot on the airplane, that's where we're going. And that international growth and expansion will bring better understanding than any technology or any other service level that you can. When you physically bring Spirit together, that's when people start to understand and actual challenges start to get worked on.
You've given Yahoo Finance a lot of your time through the years. I would just like to say I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for joining us here at the Yahoo Finance Fest.
It's always good to be with you guys.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it.